Hello everyone and welcome to Sportsballin. I'm Dylan Simmons, joined by my co-host Evan Snyder and TJ Warner. Unlike Purdue basketball, we won't disappoint you tonight. On that topic, the first two rounds of March Madness have passed, and this year certainly lived up to that billing. Tournament upsets happened left and right, including Furman's dramatic win over Virginia and Princeton declawing the Arizona Wildcats and Missouri Tigers. The biggest of all, though, has to go to Fairleigh Dickinson, who became only the second 16 seed in history to beat a 1 seed. TJ, I have to ask, what the heck happened?
Yeah, well, if you're talking about Fairleigh Dickinson, they performed a lot better than what anyone would have thought of by a long shot. I mean, you just look at the glaring fact, Zach Edey for Purdue. I mean, he's a 7'5" big man. Fairleigh Dickinson has zero size. How are they going to compete with that? They pretty much fronted him the whole time and had backside help the whole time, and that Purdue just had no answer for that all night, somehow, some way. Zero in-game adjustments, and they came down to it. They got out and ran with the ball. Anytime they could get in transition, they ran with the ball quickly. They really controlled this game against Purdue. Not the same result against FAU. Unfortunately, Fairleigh Dickinson is now out. They would have been the first 16 seed to make the Sweet 16 if they were able to get that job done. But Princeton as well. Princeton pretty much controlled the last 6 or 7 minutes of that Arizona game, and just looked top-notch compared to them. Out-rebounded them towards the end, too, which was the big reason for that victory. And then went on to smack Missouri later on. Princeton's a team to watch out for. I mean, they play a 6-seed Creighton that's not a very deep team, so if they get Creighton in foul trouble, this Princeton team, who I think might even be the better team right now, they could make a run to the Elite Eight.
Yep. They could definitely make a run to the Elite Eight because I think they honestly will beat Creighton very easily. Because, I mean, you see what they did with Arizona already. And again, there are a bunch of finance majors out there just balling. So it's great to see that. FDU put on a really good show. Like you said, Dylan, right off the rip, Purdue was disappointing. And I had them in my Final Four. And
that didn't work out for you.
And two out of my four
should have known.
Bounced in the first round.
A quick stat on Purdue. Purdue's lost by like a 12, 13, and a 15 or 16 seed now in the past 3 tournaments.
I was actually just about to mention that. I mean, Purdue, what in the world? How disappointing can you be? This is the 3rd straight year they've lost to a double-digit seed in the first round of the tournament. North Texas 2021, St. Peter's 2022, and now Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean,
just a curse.
It's a curse, but they're laying more eggs than Old McDonald's farm has. I mean, come on. Zach Edey had nobody but himself out there, and unfortunately, nobody else really wanted to step up. And I can't blame the players entirely because the coaching has to adjust, and they didn't. I mean, the smallest team in basketball kept blocking their shots over and over again, and it's like Purdue was mentally defeated. And if they don't step it up, they're going to keep having this happen because they're mentally in that mindset of, oh crap, we're going to lose. Oh no, we're going to lose. So it's a real problem right now. And that's the biggest issue. But got to give my props to Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, I didn't even know they existed until recently.
They didn't win their conference tournament. They lost to Merrimack in their conference tournament.
And they beat Texas Southern to get into
and
had a playing game to play into the round of 64, too. I mean, props to them.
Exactly. And I think going back to the Sweet 16, I'm looking at, and you guys mentioned Princeton. I really think they can contend too because you got to remember they put up 78 against Missouri, and Creighton gave up 73 to Baylor. Creighton relies on a really high-octane offense. I think Princeton can counter that, and if they get the right defensive plays, they can absolutely step up and contend. And I think the great thing is that they've got players like Ryan Langborg and Keyshawn Kellman who can really deliver. Langborg had 22 against Missouri. This guy's legit, and if he steps up and performs the way that he needs to, they can win this game. But really, what helps Princeton out a lot is that the whole team can perform and step up when the opportunity calls for it. That's what makes them so dangerous, and that's why I think, and I agree with you guys, they're going to be the second 15 seed in history to make the Elite Eight.
He's going for that St. Peter's run again.
I'm going for it.
Going back on it, we also picked Furman in the last show. If you guys were watching, we picked Furman to have the upset. We called that one. They hit the game winner at the end. Crazy pass by Clark at the end. Can't really do that in that situation. I feel like he's trying to throw it away. If you see the end of that game, Clark really got trapped in the corner with like 6 seconds left, threw the ball down the court. Furman got it and ended up making a 3 for the win. Props to Furman for that. We called that one.
Yeah,
we said that was going to be a back-and-forth game, and I said if Furman wins, it's going to be by 1 or 2 points.
I think we all picked Furman in our bracket in some sense. But I want to follow up on that question, actually, because do you guys think that these lower seeds can keep punching above their weight or punching at their weight, improving themselves as they have been?
I mean, look at Princeton.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Look at FDU, what they did. So definitely, And when it comes time to playoffs in any sport, not just only college basketball, it's a different atmosphere. You have guys that are basically putting their heart out there and putting everything they have on the line and will do anything to win a game. And that's what you saw, what we're seeing with Princeton right now. It's what we saw with FDU against Purdue and a lot of these other teams that are these lower seeds that are punching above their weight.
Yes.
It's a whole playoffs is all about momentum in any sport, especially in college basketball, because like it's really hype. Like these guys really get into it. So it's
really
definitely you have that going into it, and you just get a group of guys together that could play well around each other and just play off each other really well and feed off each other. You're going to make a deep run in any playoff for the most part.
Yes.
And I like to say, too, the difference between a good and great basketball team is not astronomical anymore. Basketball is becoming a more popular sport, and being good at basketball and being great at basketball is not as big of a difference or as big of a talent gap even as more. I mean, everyone now, just about any college team, you're going to see everyone with 6'5", 6'6" athletic players that can get the job done. Not everyone's going to have their traditional 7-footers as a big man. Maybe Power 5s will, but not the smaller group of 5 teams. But there's been ways to counter that, and with the three-point shot, how big of it is now in the way basketball is played, that just kind of counters the big man too. Guard play in the NCAA tournament is the biggest thing, and that's what you've seen in the tournament over and over again. People come into thinking, oh, like Zach Edey, Oscar Tshiebwe, like those guys are going to be the guys that dominate.
Yes.
And we see it time and time again. It's the year of the big man, as everyone says during the regular season. Then it comes to tournament play, and it's always who has the best guard play that day. And those are the teams who end up winning.
And speed, too. I think speed has a big part to play in it as well. And I think if you're looking at these upsets, I do think that these lower seeds can keep punching at their weight. And here's what I'm going to say. A specific game I'm looking at, and Vols fans aren't going to like to hear this, but Florida Atlantic, I think, can take down Tennessee. Now, listen, FAU got 78 and 66 in their first 2 tournament games, and I think what UT did against Duke is, they smothered them defensively, but I think what Florida Atlantic is a team that will fight until the end. They've proven how much they'll fight. Look at that Memphis game. I mean, they seemed like they were out of it for the longest time. They came back in dramatic fashion, got the victory, and would not quit. And I thought for sure Memphis was going to win that game. But FAU found a way back, and Jonell Davis had 29 points in that last game against FDU. He's legit. Look out for Florida Atlantic, guys. This year's tournament has provided Hamlet levels of tension. When we come back, we will talk about the Memphis Grizzlies' new budding rivalry and Nashville SC getting their tea dumped out in New England. All that and more when we return on Sportsballin.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave. You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can bring them with you wherever you go. You can jump, yell, hide and go seek, play dress up, or not. Go for a walk, or not. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that. But you can adopt one. 'Cause we're connected. We're connected.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Welcome back. The Grizzlies got themselves into a fiery matchup with the Golden State Warriors on Saturday. Memphis saw the rise of Jaren Jackson Jr. as he popped off for 31 points in a 133-119 win. However, the big story came off the court as Klay Thompson and Dillon Brooks had words, we'll say. That lasted through the weekend. Is this the hottest rivalry in the NBA now, guys?
I for sure think it is. I mean, it's the one that you see in the media the most right now. I mean, Dillon Brooks, seen as the villain, maybe not in Memphis right now. Maybe he is, but the Warriors, they're one of the teams that trash talk the most, if per se, I guess you could say, because I mean, their whole big three does it. Whether it's Curry, Klay, or Draymond, they all do it, and they're all good at it. So I don't.
Head games. Head games. Yeah.
They do play a lot of head games, but to say it's the hottest NBA rivalry, I would say that right now. I don't know who else you could put up there. Maybe the Bucks and Celtics, but I don't think that's much of a rivalry right now.
I wouldn't say as much.
There's maybe talent-wise it's a rivalry.
You're seeing two Bucks and Celtics fans right here.
But beef-wise, there's nothing. Like, anytime those two teams face each other, that's a true rivalry. They actually hate each other.
Yeah, no, I think if you want, like, on-the-court action and bantering going back and forth, it's definitely a rivalry for you.
Yes.
And also, I found it hilarious. Klay Thompson was flexing the amount of rings that he won. He was going like this, indicating that he won 4 rings. But I mean,
he played terrible that game.
He played terrible.
His plus-minus was -30.
He basically benched himself at the end of the game because he was playing horribly. So if you're going to talk trash, at least be able to back it up. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm going to kind of move into more how the Grizzlies did. You look at Jaren Jackson Jr. dropped 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks, had a couple assists to go along with that as well. Had a huge game. He played really, really well. And this is a Grizzlies team that's still without Ja Morant for a couple more games. And he will be back. I believe he has to serve 2 more game suspension, or I think he actually is back if I'm not mistaken. So the Grizzlies are going to have him back, which is going to be amazing. And he'll play later in the week. And this team just played really well without him. The bench players came off the bench hot.
Stepped up huge.
They stepped up huge. They had some guys had 14, some guys had 11 points coming off the bench. Which that's what you need for the Grizzlies. And you have Ja come back later this week. And if they can continue doing this, the Grizzlies are going to have no problem taking care of the Warriors and any other team in the West.
I agree. They shot 47% from 3 too. I mean, don't count that out. Luke Kennard hit 4. Dillon Brooks went 4 for 4. I mean, if they're shooting like this, there's not a team in the league that can stop them.
True.
I agree with that. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to make it quick about the Grizz. But Jaren Jackson Jr., this was the kind of game that really he needed and the Grizzlies needed from him. This is the kind of performance we've been waiting to see him have. He did it. Great performance. 31 points on the night, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Really all-around complete performance. And, of course, Desmond Bane had 26 points of his own. But Golden State, I think that I want to chalk it up as an impressive win, but the Warriors have just been so bad on the road. 7-29 on the road, guys. Of course, that in contrast to their insane record at home. I believe it's 29-7, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like 2 different ways of looking at it, and it's really weird for Golden State either way. So, I mean, the thing what they did is they ripped Golden State's heart out. They took away their shooting. That's what helped them out. Big win for the Grizz. Nashville SC traveled to the Boston area this past Saturday and quickly found themselves in a tight matchup. New England Revolution quickly found themselves charging with a goal in the 52nd minute by Gustavo Bo. Nashville was locked up like Rapunzel in the tower as they could not manage a single goal on the night. Is this the first loss of the season or reason to be concerned, guys?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, they're 2-0 at home, and Nashville SC, it's still the beginning of the season. I would slow your roll on that.
Only
really
4 games into the season.
Right. Yeah, I want it. It's one loss. Let's not overreact. I think Nashville SC is going to be fine throughout the year. I mean, it was a very kind of game. It wasn't really much to talk about in that situation, but I think they're fine.
And things, you look at this game too, Nashville SC had a lot of opportunities on goal. They just couldn't finish. They had a lot of good pressure in the first half of the game against New England's goalkeeper. It's just they had a small lapse in their defense where it was an offside call that was a little bit questionable on Gustavo Bo, but he was able to get through our zone and score that goal. So that's really it. In Nashville SC, there's no need to panic.
Oh, I don't think there's any need to panic either. And you got to think this is their best start through 4 games in franchise history. They've already got 7 points. And I think this was the first game, by the way, guys. They've given up a goal. So that's a real testament to Joe Willis's goaltending and that defense overall. So they're playing some really good soccer right now. I think they'll be fine. They did have 3 yellow cards in this game, so there's a little bit of stuff to watch there. They're going to have to play a little bit more discipline, but I think it's more of a bump in the road, and I think going back to Geodis Park is going to help them out a lot too. Going to help them to really be a better team. I think they're much better at home. Remember, they've got 2 2-0 victories at home thus far this year. I think that's where they shine. They're still 2-1-1. No reason to panic overall. Still a good team, so I have to agree with you guys. As long as Nashville SC does not imitate the team in Bridgestone, I think they will find their mark. When we come back, it's time to pull the fire alarm and turn on the sprinklers because we have our hot takes of the week. Stay tuned.
To pose, now shush. She makes the sound she makes to calm me down. She makes the sound she makes needy. She makes the sound she makes needy. Baby, don't see.
I'm here. Can you see me? 'Cause I feel like I'm invisible. Like this whole place is invisible. If it weren't for the nightly news, no one would even think of this place. But down here, things look different. Down here, our spirits are bright and our dreams are vivid. And if given a chance, that's what the world would see.
Let's fire this up like Gordon Ramsay's grill with our hot takes of the week. TJ, what do you have for us?
So my hot take is the college football playoff expansion is completely unnecessary and not needed.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say first is the expansion is going to 12 teams. So if you guys look right there, it's going to be the top 4 teams in that win the conference title is going to be the top 4 seeds that get by. And the next teams are at large, and there'll be one non-Power 5 that gets a bid too.
Yes.
So whether it be 12, 11 seed, that's what the playoff format will look like if we move to, or when we move to 12 teams. Because that's not happening not this year, but the 2024 and 2025 season.
Yes.
That's when this is happening. That's what everyone is for right now, not what I'm for. Well, this is what I'm proposing. So what's wrong with that? In my opinion, regular season doesn't matter as much. Why does regular season not matter? You can lose 3 games and probably be in the top 12. Think about it. Alabama, Ohio State,
yes.
they'll make it in the top 12. Regular season doesn't matter as much. Blue Bloods get in no matter what. That's not fun. Conference titles, in my opinion, still don't matter that much with this format. You get a bye. I don't think that's not really. That's
important though. That's very important.
Teams just want to be in the playoffs. They don't care about a bye necessarily.
I mean, but a bye in football though is pretty.
And bowl games have no meaning whatsoever now, right?
I agree with that. No meaning at all.
This is my system, right?
Okay.
So I'm proposing the +1 system, and what that is pretty much everyone plays their 12 games throughout the regular season still. Then everyone goes to the conference championship. Does their thing. That's 13 games. So we're not adding extra games still.
Okay.
Then everyone after that goes to bowl games. Everyone goes to bowl games. 6 and 6 or above go to bowl games. So everyone played 14 games. It's even, right?
Yes.
Then there's another seeding after that, and that's the +1 game. So whoever the top 2 seeds after that who plays for the national championship.
So it's basically like the BCS.
That's the BCS.
It's not the BCS. That's not the BCS because BCS plays. They don't go to a bowl game. We're deciding after the bowl game. So say you're a Big Ten team and a Pac-12 team. You win the conference championship. You both go to the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
And then after all that, after the Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, after all that is when the +1 game is, and that's when the national championship is.
We're gonna have to keep this short, but I'm gonna say this about it. I kind of understand, but I don't think you're limiting it too much.
That's
I think
not
there's just
limiting
too much limitation here.
That makes the regular season
I
very
think-
important, and it makes your bowl games more important too.
I think maybe, but we got to move on. Evan, what's your hot take?
My hot take. All right, Formula One season just kicked off. Last 2 races, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was this past weekend. But mine is going to be Red Bull Racing is going to win every single race this year. You look at Bahrain. Max Verstappen won that one. He had about a 10-second gap between him and his teammate Sergio Perez. And they even told Max Verstappen, hey, turn down the engine mapping, tune down the engine a little bit. And they told Sergio Perez the same exact thing, and they still had a 10-plus lead on each other.
Yes.
And they about almost had a 20-plus lead on the car in front of them. And this past weekend in Saudi Arabia, you saw Checo, Sergio Perez win that race. He had 5 seconds on his teammate Max Verstappen, and then 25 seconds on third place Fernando Alonso. And you also look, Max Verstappen started P15 in this race because he had a drive shaft that broke during qualifying 2, and he charged all the way up the field, and by lap, I believe it was 15 or 16, he was already in second place, and the safety car even helped him even more. And whatever they did, Red Bull over the offseason, over the winter break with the RB16, they figured it out, because even look at their aerodynamics compared to every other team's aerodynamics when they did testing this past year as well. It was flawless. The car looked amazing. It is fast in the straight line. It's fast in the medium and slow turns or slow corners as well, which in Formula One, those medium and slow and short corners matter a whole lot, not only with your aerodynamics and your downforce, but also how good your just car is overall. And you look at Mercedes and Ferrari, they can't even really compete, and especially don't even get me started when the drag reduction system gets added into the Red Bull and it gives them a 17-plus mile-an-hour advantage, which on those straights is huge, and they were blowing by everybody, like you just saw Sergio Perez blow by Alonso for the lead early in the race as well in lap 4.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say about this. I'm going to keep this kind of short, and I do agree in principle. Red Bull's got a lot of speed. I agree with that. Verstappen, generational talent. Perez, great driver as well. But as a NASCAR fan, I can attest there's just way too much chaos in motorsports. I know F1 isn't as chaotic, but just ask Dale Earnhardt circa 1991. Hits a seagull in the back straightaway at Daytona, loses the Daytona 500. So chaos can happen at any moment, and you could get a flat tire. You could wreck out. There could be a rain. I mean, somebody could crash right in front of you, get taken out accidentally. And I get it. They're better than Mercedes. They're better than Alpine. They're better than Haas. And they're faster than Lightning McQueen with a rocket on his bumper. I get that. But it's just too chaotic for my taste. I think they'll end up losing this. So here's what I'm going to go for my hot take. All right, guys. So the Aaron Rodgers trade, it is going to haunt the Jets for the rest of the 2020s, all right?
No.
It will.
No,
Now,
it won't.
listen, here's what I'm going to say, okay? For Green Bay, this had to be done, all right? Rodgers has been a distraction from the team's goals and ambitions for years on end now, and I think you have to rip the Band-Aid off. And listen, when you talk about the off-season drama, the vaccine issues, the darkness retreats, I mean, it's just been a mess for so long, and he's going to be 40 years old this December. He's not getting any younger. He was 26 touchdowns with 12 interceptions. That's the most picks he's had since his rookie year, and you have to rip the Band-Aid off. And the Jets, I know they're great, but is Robert Saleh going to be able to get along with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, look at what happened to Russell Wilson in Denver. He gave us some of the worst games we've ever seen.
Well,
I don't
Russell
want
Wilson
to revisit.
is trash.
But
He's
Aaron Rodgers
awful.
could very well turn into that, and all I'm going to say is it's time for the Jordan Love era to begin.
Oh my, this guy.
Woo! Let's
you
go,
really
Jordan
think
Love.
Jordan
Yes.
Love is the answer to the Packers' problems?
I think he could be an answer to the Packers.
That is the
problems.
most delusional
That's
thing
blasphemous.
ever. You look
That's
at
straight.
my
here's, no,
blasphemy.
Dylan, here's the thing, right? Aaron Rodgers
Yeah?
told the Packers what
Yes.
he needed to be successful. And what
Yes.
do? They draft his replacement in Jordan Love.
They trade up to draft
have
And
him.
they
their
trade
own
up to draft
philosophy.
him.
He's
It's a
not the
horrible
He's
philosophy.
not the general manager.
All right,
He
but
has to
listen,
have some
to
accountability.
say-
Does Tom Brady say, hey, bring this player in whenever he was in New
And
England?
the thing
No.
is, Rodgers, he's an amazing quarterback. He's in the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Sure, he had one bad
Is he
season
now?
this past season.
Is he really
But he had
now?
no offensive weapons. His defense was trash. The coaching
What about-
staff was trash.
He's an undisputed
The
top
ownership
10
is
quarterback
trash.
in the league right now, though. Undisputed.
The Packers are awful.
You could maybe say that, but he's at the lower end of the top 10. I mean, did he,
Lower end.
Christian Watson coming into his own. Alan Lazard, very solid. Yes, he's in the lower end. I said it. I believe in it. The Jets should have just went for Lamar Jackson if they wanted somebody solid and consistent and younger.
No, to say they're going to be better off without Aaron Rodgers is insane because his backup is Jordan Love.
Do you want to choke in the AFC Championship
I agree.
game?
They should have probably got rid of Aaron Rodgers, but
Yes.
to say that Jordan Love is going to be a better fit for the Packers,
That's crazy.
than Aaron Rodgers.
He might not be a better fit,
insane.
but
That's crazy.
he's better
You said
for
they're
right
better
now.
You said they're better off without Aaron Rodgers.
They are right now because
No,
he's just going to
they're-
make the team worse with him being on there. It's better.
But
just
so is
get
Jordan
him.
Love.
to say.
Jordan Love played college football at Utah State.
What does that matter? Randy Moss played football at Mississippi Valley State.
But
Oh
that's
my gosh,
Randy
my voice
Moss.
cracked.
You're comparing.
God.
But the thing is, you're
getting
comparing.
wound up here,
You're
Evan.
comparing Randy Moss, one of the
to
greatest
Jordan Love,
to
who's
ever
barely
do
ever
it.
played.
To Jordan Love.
And when he played one game this season, he reminded you why, oh man, Aaron Rodgers, they need Aaron Rodgers after the one game he played.
oh man.
Yeah, keep that hat
oh
right
my
there. You
God.
don't need it anymore.
No,
That
you're
bandwagon
not throwing it
Packers
this
fan.
time.
Get
Listen.
off
All right.
the table.
All right, listen.
But that is crazy.
Listen, guys,
That's just
trust
crazy.
me. The Jets are going to get haunted worse than Ebenezer Scrooge by this.
Oh,
When
sure.
we return, we make picks like we are the New York Jets quarterbacks. It's our picks of the week when we return.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can bring them with you wherever you go. You can jump, yell, hide and go seek, play dress up, or not. Go for a walk, or not. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that. But you can adopt one.
'Cause we're connected. We're connected.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Welcome back to Sportsballin. It is now time for our picks of the week. Let's start it out with the Nashville Predators at the Buffalo Sabres Tuesday at 6 o'clock, guys.
Yeah, give me the Buffalo Sabres on this one. I just don't trust the Predators anymore.
I'm going to go with the Preds. The Sabres are on a 3-game lose streak. So, yeah, hopefully the Predators.
Preds are in the tank, Sabres are in the playoff hunt. Enough said. Sabres taking this one. All right, and lastly, Memphis Grizzlies versus Houston Rockets Wednesday at 7, guys.
This should be a blowout. Give me the Grizz big.
Jaw will be back, so yeah, give me the Grizz.
Rockets are terrible. Easy win for the Grizz. They take it. All right, well, fellas, it's time to send it back like a red-ringed Xbox. Remember to catch Sportsballin every week on Blue Raider Television. For TJ Warner and Evan Snyder, I'm Dylan Simmons saying so long, and remember to have an electric night.